Hello and welcome to Loppy Loves Eco. If you haven't been here before, my name is Lauren and on this channel we talk about sustainability and eco-friendly living on a budget. In today's video we're going to be talking about small habits that you can create in your life to help you start out on a sustainable lifestyle. And these are just tiny changes that will have a big impact. So first of all, if you drive a lot or take taxis a lot, could you walk or take public transport just once a week? Whether that be to work or to do your grocery shopping, just once a week could you make that change? And staying on the once a week theme, could you take your lunch to work once a week? If you buy your lunch every day. And to make this extra easy, I guess, and a bit more sustainable, you could just bring your leftovers from the night before as your lunch to work. That's the way I usually eat at work, it's just my leftovers from the night before. If you don't already use reusable shopping bags, could you just take a plastic bag from your last shopping trip out with you when you go grocery shopping? You will be saving a little bit of money. You'll be avoiding the plastic bag charge, and reusable bags can sometimes be a little bit bulky. Plastic bags just crush down into nothing. And you could easily fit that in your pocket and just get a few uses out of the plastic bags that you already own and until you have to get rid of them. And also when you're at the supermarket, when you're about to buy a plastic bag, can you think about how long that bag will be used for before you get rid of it? Because it's probably only going to be used for like 5-10 minutes. Maybe you'll just take the bag out to your car, put it in the car, and then when you get home just take it out and bring it to the kitchen. Or maybe you'll just be walking home for 10-15 minutes and then the bag will not be used again. And just think about how much that is costing you per minute to use before you buy the bag. So it's best to reuse them if you can. Bring a container to restaurants with you if you know that you're going out to eat. I have done this for years, even before I was on this sustainable lifestyle, just because I'm cheap. Just take your leftovers home in a container and then you don't have to ask the staff for a doggy bag, or you're not contributing to food waste if you don't want to ask the staff. And it can be something fancy like this, but also an old ice cream tub or a reused takeaway container also works too. Just something you can throw in your bag. You can check your fridge once or twice a week just to see if there is anything that needs to be used up immediately or very quickly, and either use that food or freeze it. With vegetables, there are some vegetables that you can just throw straight into the freezer, and some of them will need to be blanched first, which is when you just put them into boiling hot water for a few seconds and then into ice cold water, and then you can put them in the freezer. This also works with bread as well. Bread is one thing that I find goes off so quickly before it gets used. So if you've had a loaf of bread for a couple of days and you know you're not going to finish it, just put the rest of it into the freezer. You can freeze bread and put it in the toaster to defrost it and toast it pretty much instantly. If you eat when you're out quite a lot, you could just carry some cutlery or a spork with you so that you don't have to pick up the single-use utensils when you're out and about. If you buy a lot of drinks when you're out, you can either carry a reusable water bottle or coffee cup depending on what you get. And if you don't drink water, you can either just fill it with what you drink or carry around one of those little water flavouring bottles. Can't think of the right way to describe it. It's like a bottle of double strength squash inside like a little capsule, and even though that's made of single-use plastic, that's a lot less plastic than what like 10 water bottles would be, or however much that lasts. And on a similar note, if you drink a lot of fizzy pop, you could buy a soda stream to make it at home, and you can usually get soda streams secondhand. I always see them on Facebook Marketplace and a lot of the time in charity shops here as well. You can get a lot of name brand soda now for your soda stream, so you can just make it at home. That will save you a lot of money as well, probably. When you are buying something, think about how it will be disposed of before you buy it. So even if it's a piece of clothing, like after you've finished with it, what are you going to do with it? Or even something like just a can of beans from the supermarket, how are you going to dispose of the packaging when it's done? Just make sure you have a plan in place for it, and if you can't think of a good end of life for that item, just don't buy it. Try and find a more sustainable option. Buy ugly vegetables or dented tins, just things that people might avoid in the supermarket, because those are the things that are more likely to be thrown out because they're less likely to be purchased. Some people avoid buying dented tins because there can be micro cracks in them that can cause the food to spoil, and that can be true, but I have personally never had a problem, and I often buy dented tins. They're often reduced, but sometimes I will just see them dented on the shelf, and in that case someone has probably dented it that day, because I think the staff would notice and put it in the reduced section at the end of the day if it was already dented. And if you ever knock a tin off the shelf and dent it, please buy it. Don't just put it back for someone else to buy. I had this happen a while ago. I was doing some grocery shopping for a friend and they wanted some pasta sauce in a tin. I had never bought pasta sauce in a tin before then. I picked up a can and another can fell off the shelf and dented on the floor next to me. So I bought it and I used it that night to make pizza. I used it as a pizza sauce, and I actually really loved that sauce, so I have bought it since. You can buy refill pouches for things like hand soap and body wash. They just come in like a soft plastic pouch, and if you already have a bottle or a plastic soap pump dispenser, you can just fill up what you already have with those pouches if you don't have a refill shop near you. Even though they're still made of plastic, it's like a soft plastic which is lighter to transport and causes less CO2 emissions during the transportation, because more of it can be transported at the same time. And you can recycle the packaging, of course. And it often works out cheaper to buy the soap in the refill pouches rather than just a new container every time, because in those pouches you can normally refill the soap a couple of times. It's not like a single use pouch, it's like 2 or 3 refills in one pouch. You can also buy makeup sometimes in refill little, like the little aluminium tins that go into a pallet. Can't think of the word for it, I can't think of the word. That often works out cheaper, and then you don't have to buy a whole pallet, which a lot of pallets are just thrown away after they're used, and that's super wasteful. So either buy a pallet that you can stick the tins into, like a magnet pallet, or just buy the little refills and just stick them in something you already own. You can just glue them onto something, onto a little board or whatever you want. Cut open the container or packaging to get the last bit out and use everything up for things like toothpaste, shower gel sometimes, body lotion, hand lotion. Just cut open that tube and there's normally quite a bit of product left inside, and finish everything before you throw away the packaging, or recycle the packaging as you should be. And that will also save you some money because you're making the most out of what you have. If you use a lot of something, buy it in bulk. These were some brownie and peanut butter filled pretzels I bought a couple of times, just because me and my boyfriend have a cheat day once a week and I use this as sweets. And that lasts me about a month, one of those containers. I also buy my rice now in 10 kilo bags, because I eat rice almost on a daily basis. It's my favourite food, I will eat it all the time. So instead of buying 2 kilos a month, I now buy just a 10 kilo bag and it will last me about half a year. Because when you're buying in bulk, you are just making less individual pieces of packaging. And with the rice bags, I normally use them as a bin bag after. But now I'm actually considering sewing them together and making a waterproof picnic blanket because they're like a really thick plastic. So I'm just saving up my bags at the moment and I'll see how that goes. It might not work, but it's a good thing to try. And finally, if you have something that you need to buy and you really need this item, you've thought it through and it is something you absolutely need, consider borrowing it if you can. There are more borrow libraries opening around the world. I hear about them popping up everywhere now. Or you can borrow it from a friend. I currently have a sewing machine that I have had on a really long-term loan from a friend. Or if you can't borrow it from anywhere, look for it secondhand first. So my new camera, not for YouTube, different camera, I have bought secondhand on eBay. And actually the camera that I'm using to vlog with at the moment was secondhand, but I didn't pay for it. I swapped for it on a swap group. But yeah, just look secondhand for anything you might need first. Maybe you need a new outfit for a party that you're going to, you can find that secondhand, or a TV, or just anything really. And even if you know the exact model, the exact thing you want, you can often find that secondhand. I often look for like exact things that I want and usually find it for a lot cheaper as well. So those are just some small habits you can start building today to start living more sustainably. Hopefully nothing on that list is too hard or too complicated to get into, and even if you just do 1 or 2 things on that list, you'll still be making a big difference on your personal impact to the planet. So have a lovely day and I will see you in the next video. Bye!